This is TLV1.
TLV1 Radio.
Great mixture.
I like Tel Aviv.
This is TLV1.
This is
Tel Aviv is a beautiful city.
Great city, great radio.
TLV1.
This is TLV1.
From the TLV1 studios in Tel Aviv, Israel, it's Louis live! That's just me, Ari Louis. Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone is well. This is Louis Live on TLV1. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We have a great show tonight. Nate Fish at half past the hour to talk about the latest with Israel baseball. Doobie Pick to talk about the Tel Aviv Cup. Josh Halickman talk about David Blatt and much more. But on the line, discussing American football, it's Wildcard weekend. This weekend, folks, is our good friend, Deep Voice Brian Hoffman. Deep Voice, welcome back.
Hey, what's happening? Thanks for having me on after a little theater stint.
That's right. Hope the play went well, and now there's some theater this weekend. Your boys, the Baltimore team, known as the Killers, is it? Or what's their – I forgot their team other name. But they're playing Pittsburgh Steelers. That's a big rivalry game in general. Amped up more because it's the postseason. Give us a breakdown, and how shocked are you that the Ravens even made the playoffs?
Well, I'd rather be known as the Killers than a team that's in the playoffs like the Arizona Cardinals that don't have a legit quarterback right now. Probably don't have the chance to win a single game.
All right, we'll talk about that in the later on in this segment. But Baltimore versus Pittsburgh, they're on the road. The game's in Pittsburgh. You still like your team's chances of pulling it off?
No, Pittsburgh is going to win this game by at least 10 points.
Whoa, wait a minute. You're the biggest Ravens fan I know. You're known as the voice of Baltimore sports, and you're still taking the Steelers by 10?
By at least 10. You know I don't drink the purple Kool-Aid, and I speak the truth. You want to know why that's the case? All
right. And why is it that Pittsburgh's going to win by 10?
Well, first of all, I don't have any respect for any teams from the AFC North. There are three teams that made it from that division, the division winner.
Right.
Steelers as a result of beating Cincinnati last night. And then two teams from each conference make a wild card, and both came from the AFC North. And the reason why is because the NFC South and the AFC South, which each of the teams in our division got to play against, 8 games altogether. The Ravens in that stretch went 7-1 against both those divisions, which were really bad. Again, that's the division that has Carolina coming out at as the division winner at 7-8-1.
Right, below 500.
Who get a home game in the playoffs. That's the only chance, by the way, Arizona would have to winning a game is if they get to go to Carolina, and they probably wouldn't even win that one.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Arizona's 11-5, but they're not a division winner, so they're going to go on the road against Carolina, as you mentioned, below 500. Not really fair for the Cardinals, but that's what it is. And third-string quarterback aside, can the Cardinals, with that defense, Patrick Peterson, pull it off against that young Carolina team?
Well, they might be Carolina. But they're not going to make it any farther.
Okay, but I'll take that. It's a playoff win. We haven't had a playoff win in about 5 years. That's fine with me.
But compared to where Arizona was a few weeks back when Carson Palmer was playing at a high level, Arizona, as you know, was like
they were 8-1.
Now it's Seattle. They were the best team in the league. They had a tremendous defense, and all of a sudden, not only do you lose Carson Palmer, you also lose Andre Ellington, who's, in my opinion, a top 5 running back in the NFL.
So who's going to win? Who's winning the first wild card game of the weekend, Cardinals or the Panthers?
I really think the Panthers are going to take that. I just don't. I mean, unless somehow Stanton comes back, who, as you know, last time I was on, I said he was the X factor. Or one of the last 2 times I was on your show, I said he was the X factor. Well, he even went out. So they're the third stringer right there. I really don't think that's going to cut it. You really need a quarterback in this league right now.
Yeah, that's an understatement. So you like Carolina to win. Let's go to the other 2 games on Sunday. Cincinnati goes on the road against Indianapolis. I like the Colts here. Andrew Luck, I think, is going to be too much for them. What do you think?
I don't know. I don't have a tremendous amount of respect for the Colts. Again, they got to play against that AFC South there with Tennessee and Jacksonville. And aside from J.J. Watt, Houston's not that good of a team. I could really see Cincinnati winning that game. But you know what? I'm going to go with the Colts, and only because Cincinnati hasn't won a playoff game since, I think, the 80s.
Right.
or early 90s at the latest there. And I'm not gonna say that Cincinnati that streak is gonna end. I say Cincinnati will continue to not win a playoff game. I'll just go with the horrible luck of the Bungles here, and I'll just go with my man Andrew Luck.
Yeah, the Bengals went to 2 Super Bowls in the 80s, but since then have not been that successful. They had a long, terrible period. Last game of the Wildcard weekend game, we're speaking with Deep Voice Brian on Lewis Live. Detroit versus Dallas. Dallas wins the division for the first time since 2009. Detroit does have Matthew Stafford. They have a pretty solid wide receiver core, Megatron, etc. Who do you think wins the final game of Wildcard weekend?
You know, Dallas and Tony Romo always find a way to choke at the end of the season, or if they do make the playoffs. You remember the botched long snap they had on
right. They would have had a field goal to win,
or an
right.
extra point, or very short kick there. I also don't have much respect for Detroit. I mean, you got Megatron, Matthew Stafford. Running game that's not all that great. That's a tough one. Let's pick that one a little later. Give me the rest of the game.
That is the last game, so you'll have to pick that one.
That is the last wild card game.
Yeah.
I'd make Andrew Gershman very happy if I said Dallas Cowboys.
So let's make him unhappy and take the Lions, because that's what I'm taking.
These are two teams that have really not done anything in the playoffs since Aikman and Barry Sanders. And even when the Lions had Barry Sanders, they didn't do a whole lot.
Yeah. So, who are you taking then at the end of the day?
A coin flip. Flip a coin, Ari. If it lands, you have a coin next to you?
No, I have a phone and a cup of coffee. That's about it. I have a piece of paper if you want to flip
All right.
that.
Well, you know what? I'm going to flick, an Agura right here. It's 10 on one side and a menorah on the other. If it's the menorah, it'll be the Cowboys, okay?
Okay, go ahead. We're waiting.
Let's see.
Let's do a drum roll.
It just fell on the 10, so it's the Lions.
It's the Lions. You know what? I'm taking the Lions, too. So me and you agree on all the games except for Arizona, Carolina. I'm going to say the Cardinals pull that out. They have 11 wins. I know most of that was to Palmer, but I figured that defense somehow is going to figure out a way to beat 7-8 Carolina. Of course, I wouldn't be surprised if I was wrong on that one. Deep Voice, we got to run. Good luck to your team. I'm going to be a better sportsman than you and wish you good luck, even though you're not going to wish good luck to my team. That's fine. Ain't that right?
Well, how about Andrew Luck,
Yeah, they're very good. Very clever. All right, we got to run. Thanks, Steve Voice, for being on the show today, and we'll speak with you soon. Be well.
Have a good one. Thanks for having me on.
All right, after this break, we're going to transition from American football to world football, also known as soccer, with Devere Reutman. This is Lewis Live on TLV1. All right, back here on Lewis Live. Thanks again to Deep Voice Brian Hoffman for breaking down the American football playoff picture. And on the line right now to break down world football is our good friend Devere Reutman. Devere, welcome back to the program.
Hi, Ari. How are you?
Doing great. Now, this show is the last show of the calendar year of 2014, so I wanted to do a summary of soccer of 2014. Let's start first with some of the better teams. You have Germany, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, etc. Tell us a bit about the best teams of 2014.
Well, first thing, Germany winning the World Cup at the 13th of July.
That's pretty good.
They beat Argentina in the final after Mario Götze's goal. in extra time. And, the man chef, they really had a great tournament. They were able to win Ghana, United States, Portugal. They did a draw with Ghana, but they finished first place anyhow. In the way to the final, they won Algeria, France, and of course, the incredible 7-1 over Brazil on Brazil soil in the semifinal.
Which Mick Jagger got blamed for some reason. I don't know why that is. That's a whole other thing. But I just think the team won 7-1 because they were that much better. But that's my opinion. Go ahead.
Yeah, so, it was really an amazing match. It was like after 25 minutes, it was already 5-0. Nobody could believe it. So they really did good. They had amazing players. Miroslav Klose, Sami Khedira, Thomas Muller, Manuel Neuer, Tony Kroos. We saw him giving an extraordinary tournament. Second team, best team of the year, Real Madrid. They won La Decima, the 10th Champions League Cup, after winning Atletico Madrid 4-1 at the final. First European Champions League final ever, two teams from the same city, Madrid. In the semi-final, I remember Real Madrid winning the team who was really favorite, Bayern Munich. They won them 1-0 and 4-0. It was really amazing, for them. Cristiano Ronaldo with a great season. We'll talk about him later. And that's pretty much for, also Atletico Madrid, but I gave them a different parameter for what they did in 2014.
Okay, so we talked about some of the better teams of 2014. Let's talk about some of the disappointments. You have Spain, United, etc. Who is on the list of the teams that you're not so happy with?
Well, the top of the list is Spain. They finished the World Cup in the third place after losing to Netherlands 5-1 and to Chile 2-0. They didn't move to the next stage. La Roja, they won 2 Euros, 2008 and 2012. In the middle, they won 2010 World Cup. So they really should have done better. They were, I think they were really based on, strikers such as Fernando Torres and David Villa. Really, really poor tournament for them.
All right.
Second team.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say Barcelona, too, was a disappointment.
Yeah, Barcelona was also a disappointment. 2014, they finished it without any title. They lost the championship and the Champions League quarterfinal to Atletico Madrid, and they lost the Spanish Cup to Real Madrid, so they really got a big knockout from Madrid. In this season, in the meantime, they're only on the second place after Real Madrid, and they already lost the Clásico 3-1 to Real Madrid. But yeah, for them, I think maybe 2015 they can still win something. It's not completely lost. And third team, Manchester United. They finished last season with David Moyes and Ryan Giggs, only at the 7th place, conceding 12 loss. And so it meant, they don't have Champions League this year, or not even European Cup. No European competition for them at all. In the meantime, they hired Van Gaal to be the manager. They brought some very amazing, very impressive players they bought this year. And still, nevertheless, they are only at the third place. It's the first place, of course. It's not like a 7, but they are already 10 points behind Chelsea, who's in the first place.
Again, we're speaking with Devere Roitman here on Louis Live on TLV1. Devere, let's talk about some of the heroes of the year. You mentioned Ronaldo. You have some other players as well, James Rodriguez and Miroslav Klose. So tell us about some of the stars of 2014.
Sure. Okay, let's start with Ronaldo. Indeed, he didn't have a very good World Cup with Portugal, to say the least. But he scored, this guy, he scored 61 goals in 60 matches.
Not bad.
No, not at all. He won, he almost broke his own record. He won the Champions League and the Champions League Super Cup. He broke another record. He became the Champions League super scorer per season with 17 goals last season. And, just you look at the the guy, you see him playing, you see how high he jumps, you see how athletic he is. Very, very impressive player. Also, we won the title last year as the player of the year by UEFA. So yeah, really, really good. We Cristiano Ronaldo, maybe number one hero for 2014 for me. Second hero, James Rodriguez. He gave an ordinary World Cup with Colombia, leading them to the quarterfinal. And of course, Real Madrid couldn't ignore him. They bought the young midfielder from Monaco. He has a great future in front of him. He's already doing very well in Real Madrid. With Ronaldo and Bale, of course, maybe it's very easy sometimes. And, I take from this player the best picture of the year, actually. After Colombia lost to Brazil in the quarterfinal, David Luiz from Brazil hugging him and pointing him towards the crowd. Soccer sport, it can be very beautiful sometimes, even if you win or even if you lose. And, of course, he had one of the best goals of the year against Uruguay in the eighth final. This goal, he deflected the ball with his shoulder and kicked with the other leg. This goal is nominated for Goal of the Year.
Wow. All right. And last question we have for you. Let's talk about some of the achievements of 2014. Atletico Madrid, they win La Liga. Tell us, is that the top achievement of 2014 in the world of football?
I would say one more word about achievements and heroes. Miroslav Klose becoming the super scorer ever of the World Cup with 16 goals, passing Brazilian Ronaldo in the last World Cup. He scored 2 goals. He played 4 World Cups. So this is also an achievement and also another hero. I doubt it if he will play another World Cup. Second achievement, Atletico Madrid winning La Liga after 18 years. Barcelona and Real Madrid with a much bigger budget, almost 3 times bigger, and still they finished behind Atletico Madrid. And well done for Diego Simeone. You see his players last year taking the championship, Diego Costa, Thibaut Courtois, the goalkeeper, Felipe Luis, Budin, Miranda, Coca, Datuan, Mario Suarez, really not that close to the expensive players you see at Real Madrid and Barcelona, but not less good, apparently. Winning the championship, really amazing achievement for Atletico Madrid and Diego Simeone, the coach.
All right. Tavir Roitman breaking down the world of football for 2014. We appreciate the time today. Thanks so much for being on Louis Live.
Thank you. Have a good year.
You too. Be well. All right, we're going to take a break. Now, this might shock you folks, but scandal in Israel, yes, it's true. We're going to have a big scandal we're going to talk about on the other side of this break with Raphael Geller. This is Louis Live on TLV1. All right, back here on Louis Live. If you want to follow the station on Twitter, you can do so at TLV1. And you can email me personally at longlivelouislive@gmail.com. Also, I'm on Facebook, ARILOUIS. Huge scandal in the world of sports. To talk about that, BBC World News correspondent Raphael Geller. Raphael, welcome back to the show.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, doing great. We are doing a lot better than some of these sports people that are involved with a huge corruption scandal. 3 figures in particular, they're suspected with corruption. Tell us who those figures are and what exactly they are accused of.
Well, basically, the corruption scandal is much bigger than sports. Obviously, we're focusing on sports since we're a sports show, but the corruption scandal really involves people from every sector. And starts at the top of Israel Beitenu, Avigdor Lieberman's party. The Deputy Interior Minister, Faina Kirschenbaum, has been charged with pretty much taking money and giving it to people, asking for bribes back. Her daughters have been getting jobs that were a bit, raise your eyebrows. But basically, when it comes down to the sports, the 3 figures who are in question are the first one is a former head of Maccabi Rishon LeZion, the former chairman, that is. The second one is the former head of the Israeli Handball Association. And the big one, the one that really caught everyone's, the other 2, no disrespect to them, aren't as big as this one. The third one is Avner Koppel, who used to be the head of the Israeli Basketball Association, which is a very, very big deal, because basically what this could mean is that he was using your quote-unquote illegal money or to advance things in the league. It's still it's very a lot of things are under a gag order, so it's very hard on what to report and what to do, but basically this is one of the biggest corruption scandals in the history of Israel. Everyone seems to be getting involved. There was just a report a few minutes ago that 15 people will be arrested in the next round. Over 20 were already arrested or spoken to, arrested, interrogated, whatever you want to say, in the first round. It's a big deal. It's, there's not much to report now because it's very much under gag order, and even if someone did know, they wouldn't be allowed to say. But the biggest name on there is Avner Koppel, who is the former chairman of the Israeli Basketball Association. And that's a very big deal.
All right, Raphael, I know that there's not a lot of information of stuff that cannot be released, but if he is found guilty, what type of jail time will these people be looking at?
Jail time, it remains, again, I know I can't really answer that because we don't know exactly how guilty he is, but it's taking away the jail time, it's more of a shot at how, corrupt Israeli society is. I mean, yesterday, the pretty much the top contender to Nir Barkat for the mayoral position of Jerusalem got arrested, Moshe Leon. He is known as a close confidant of Avigdor Lieberman. Not to mix politics in too much, but Lieberman also has been under the microscope, if you recall, and had a lot of charges against him, and got, is somehow able to get rid of them and retain the foreign ministry position. But there's a lot of speculation now about what's next for his party, with the fact that this starts at the top of his party with his, from what I hear and from what everyone knows, is one of his closest allies in the party, if not his closest ally. And, she goes under the bus. Who knows if she'll decide to save him or keep him, because this is under his watch. If she is charged and he's responsible, it's his party funds. He is the head of his party. He has to take responsibility. There's a lot of interesting things here. His party's not doing well in the polls right now. How much could this affect it? They left. He used to have an alliance with Likud. Could Likud somehow get dragged in? Probably not, but there's a lot of interesting questions that remain. But the biggest one in the sports is what will happen here, and what exactly did the Israeli Basketball Association do with the money? Because listen, a lot of our associations here don't have the money they probably deserve. I mean, soccer is doing well. There was a release that, people get paid pretty well in the soccer, but in the basketball, it doesn't have the same type of money as other organizations such as football, soccer. So a lot of stuff's going to come out in the next few days. Obviously, this just got released within the last 72 hours. So if we talk next week or in 2 weeks, I think there'll be more to debate or talk about.
We also have a question of, what did the Israeli Basketball League know? Did they know Avner Koppel had illegal money, if he did have illegal money? This investigation, I understood, took about a year to figure this out. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, this was a sting. This was, from the reports, this was, a long time. Possibly, I even think probably more. This is, we're talking about a lot of what's the word I'm thinking? A lot of budget, they spend a lot of time on, a lot of money on it. It goes deep, and they pick the time to expose it now for a reason. It's not just they did it now. And really the next, 24, 48 hours, week, 2 weeks will be very interesting and important to politics, to sports, to, agricultural department, like everything, pretty much everything's mixed up in this. And as I said at the beginning of our interview, in very soon, according to Walla, there's going to be another round of arrests, and there could be more sports people on there.
So some committee took tax-paid money to find out officials who were paid by tax-paid money who did not use our tax-paid money properly. That's how corrupt this is.
What's that? Sorry, can you repeat?
It's just not a good situation. There was some committee that we paid money to figure out that these politicians have wasted our money and they get paid by us.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very shady thing. Corruption, it's funny. I was just actually looking at this before this happened. Israel's actually not that high on the corruption index. It's actually pretty solid. I think it's in the 30s out of 176 countries or something like that. But this will change it. Usually we see the corruption level in more in kind of like city and districts. A lot of mayors have been arrested, but we haven't seen something like this in a while. There was the Olmert scandal,
right,
but that was focused more on on him. But this is focused on 1 million people. You don't know who's going to be arrested next. It all goes to Israel Beitenu, Avigdor Lieberman's party, and we'll see what happens.
I didn't even know there was a corruption index, but I guess we got to have one now after all this. Get to speak with Raphael Geller, BBC World News correspondent. Raphael, a few minutes we have left with you. Let's talk about something a little more positive, kind of. Transfer window, Iran Zahavi, is he going to England anytime soon?
Well, last night his streak snapped of consecutive goals, 17 goals in a row in the league snapped, which I think is a good thing for him. Bad thing maybe for the record book since Messi's record was 21, but I think he finally feels like the pressure's off of him. But is he going to go? I don't know. It's very complicated. One of the other great players on the team, Tal Ben Chaim, is getting a ton of attention too, and is not really getting the attention from the media because of Zahavi. Everyone wondering what he's going to do. But if Tal Ben Chaim leaves, that's also a big deal. Basically, right now, according to the last few days, from what I hear in England, it's very quiet. Tottenham, the big team around him, are interested in a lot bigger players. I mean, guys that they would pay £20 million, £15 million. This is not saying Zahavi's not going to go, but they're focused on bigger fish and players that really, they think are the future. Important also to add, these players that I mentioned are much younger, are guys that they think, it's worth to spend £20 million because they could be with the club, for 5-7 years. Iran Zahavi's not a young man anymore. He's been playing for a long time. So I think it's, I don't want to say this, but I think it's almost safe to say that Zahavi will not be going to Tottenham. That's almost for sure. Especially with the team, the players that they're interested in. They've been playing very, very good. They've won. Or they haven't lost in 5 matches. Yesterday they tied United. Their attack looks very good. Their money, it looks like it's, the players that they have, Eric Kane, Christian Eriksen. So they have good players up there. I don't see him going there anymore. But with that being said, there's still a lot of other teams that could use a player like him. He seems happy. He seems like he wants to stay. But if a team comes up to him, a big team from the Premier League or a decent team, and says to him, we want you to come, we want you to play every week, and we want you to score goals. This is the money we're going to give you. This is what we want from you. It doesn't seem possible, likely that he'll say no. I mean, if he cools down in the next 6 months, will he have the same offers in the summer? And that seems unlikely that he will. Now is the time for him to go if he wants to go. Maccabi Tel Aviv don't want him to go. They're going to try and do everything in their power to keep him. But they understand that if he gets a good offer and gets the opportunity to play big minutes in a Premier League club, there's no way that he's not going to go.
They would let him go and let him fulfill that dream. Raphael, we got to run. Great job, as always. BBC World News correspondent Raphael Geller on Lewis Live. Talk about the big corruption scandal, one of the biggest in Israel's history, and Arad Zahavi most likely not going to Tottenham. Raphael, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Be well. All right, quick break. On the other side, we'll get the latest on Israel baseball with Nate Fish. This is Lewis Live on TLV1. All right, back here on Lewis Live. That great music, courtesy of Tomer Gershman, who makes all the music for all my shows. Shout out to Tomer, and he said a very nice thing on his Facebook wall about my show is the greatest. And shout out to Adam, who's producing tonight's program. On the line right now, the National Director of Israel Baseball, the one and only Nate Fish. Nate, welcome back.
Yes. Thank you for having me back.
All right, now
great music.
Yes.
Great intro music.
Yeah, it was pretty hardcore. Just to clarify, you're not playing baseball right now or at a fundraiser, correct?
I have 1 hour, and then I leave to go out to the field. So you got me at a good time.
Oh, excellent. All right.
We have practice this afternoon.
Yes. So let's get this started. What is the latest with Israel baseball? Any big tournaments coming up that people should know about?
In April, our junior national team is going to go to Prague. We finished twice in the last 2 years in second place there. So we're looking to sort of push through that barrier and try and win the tournament. Second place finish has been great. Historically, we didn't do nearly that well in the tournament, but it would be awesome if we could win that thing. So we have a pretty good junior national team this year. That's a 16 and under national team. And they'll be going to Prague in April. That's the first national team that's going to be going overseas to play. The rest of us, the under 12 team, the under 14 team, the under 19 team, they all travel in June and July. So
now,
these guys sort of kick off our international schedule.
But the regular season for Israel baseball also starts in April. Is that correct?
Regular season opening day, March 17th.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So remember that easy date to remember because it's election day also.
Yeah.
That's opening day for the Premier League. And some of the youth leagues start even earlier than that. But the Premier League has a big opening day event March 17th.
When that happens, then when the team goes to Prague, do they not have – I mean, how does it work as far as games during that time? Are there no regular season games when the team's in Prague, the national team?
I'd have to look at the schedule. Obviously, they're exempt from playing for their local club teams if they're traveling with the national team for the week. I do think that the junior league will take a break here domestically while they're gone because they'd be missing so many of their better players. It's kind of like, if there's international competitions and they're using pro players for Major League Baseball, they have to take a little break then, like an extended all-star break kind of thing.
All right. By the way, what's going on in the background? It's not like there's some fight in a falafel stand or something. Are you causing a problem?
I'm in the shook. I'm in Yafo right now.
Okay.
I'm in the shook. So, there's always a lot of chaos here. I'm just grabbing some lunch before practice.
But they're giving you, like, free apples like you're the Godfather, right?
Free everything.
There you go. Okay, so you have the tournament in April for Prague.
Yeah.
I want to know, like, we've talked this before, baseball practice is pretty simplistic. You're working on your fundamentals. Are you doing anything extra to say, hey, Prague, we're going to face this hitter, we're going to deal with this defense and prepare for it, or is it just you work on the fundamentals nonstop for about 3-4 months?
You work on the fundamentals always. We get creative at practice. At the beginning of every baseball academy practice, we make the kids do something that they've never done before. We call it beginner's luck. The phenomenon of beginner's luck is that you're better at something the first time you try it. And so what we're trying to really accomplish there is we're trying to give them panic their brain a little bit, trick them into learning, and just create a little bit of chaos for them so they realize that they're there to learn. They're there.
Speaking of chaos, we heard Yata in the back. I don't know what Yata is, but I'm sorry. Go ahead, Nate. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, don't worry about it. It's crazy out here. I'm just trying to stay focused and get this interview right.
And stay alive, too. Make sure you're safe.
It's always hard in international competition. It's always hard. Sorry, these guys are talking.
You need a baseball in your pocket to throw it at them, so be quiet.
Man.
There we go.
It's always hard in international competitions to prepare because it's hard to get scouting reports.
Right.
So you just sort of prepare for like a generic opponent. We do talk to people in Europe and get as much information as we can about the teams that we're going to be playing and try and put together scouting reports. But it's tough. It's always hard. We're not real familiar with the other teams. It's not like when you're playing a regular season against guys that you face every day and you know the other team's lineup and stuff like that. You try and figure it out on the fly.
All right. And last few minutes we have with you, this is the first time you've been on this show since the passing of Howie. I know you were close with him. I loved him as well. Just give us a few minutes of your memories of Howie and how much he meant to Israel baseball.
Yeah, Howie was, he meant a lot to Israel baseball, and he meant a lot to me personally. We were good friends. I was coincidentally there the night that he passed away, which was, an experience for me. But I'm glad that I was there and I was with him when it happened.
Right.
We miss him a lot from a baseball standpoint. He did an amazing job in Jerusalem. He was really growing the program there a lot. He umpired almost all of our Premier League games. So anytime I went out to the field to play, there's Howie. He's either behind the plate or he's a field umpire, and he's talking to us and motivating us throughout the game and telling us that we're doing well. And, we were just constantly communicating, whether it was as an umpire or him as the regional director and me as the national director. We talked all the time. And on a personal level, look, we had both just moved to Israel in the last couple of years, don't know a whole lot of people. So we really supported each other in that way, just talking to each other and spending time with each other. So it's been hard. But I was glad this last couple weeks that we were able to do some memorial services for him. We just finished a great batting cage in Jerusalem that's named after him. That's going to be a great asset for the kids in Jerusalem. It's a beautiful batting cage.
And there should be a scholarship named after him, right, for kids who can't afford to play, right?
Yeah, we named a scholarship fund after him for kids that can't afford to play baseball in Israel that want a chance to. And we also framed some of his umpire jerseys and did a ceremony for him.
All right.
And so we were able to do a lot for him and make sure that we remember him the right way. So we feel good about that, but we miss him a lot.
Yeah, he certainly won't be forgotten. And everyone, you can go to Israel Baseball if you want to be involved with the Howie Oyster Scholarship Fund. Check that out. You can go to Israel Baseball on Facebook, and Nate Fish is on Facebook as well. Nate, we appreciate the time. Stay safe wherever you are. Try to get a good deal if you're going to buy some food. I know that. You got to bargain really hard. It's very important.
Right.
All right, Nate.
Everything's up for bargain here in the market.
Yes, no doubt.
All right. Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, be well. We'll speak to you soon.
You too. Thanks. Bye.
All right, the one and only Nate Fish. We've done interviews while he's playing baseball at a fundraiser and at the Shook. I think the Shook was the loudest by far of those three. But break it down, the latest with Israel baseball. We'll take a quick break and talk about Maccabi Tel Aviv's victory over Hapoel in the Tel Aviv Derby. This is Louis Live on TLV1. All right, back here on Louis Live on Saturday night. Maccabi Tel Aviv beat Hapoel Tel Aviv 73-71 in the semifinals of the Israel State Cup. To talk about that from Eurobasket, back to the program, David Doobie Pick. Doobie, welcome back to the show.
Hey, Ari, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Now, in this game, even though Maccabi won, it looked for a long period of time they were going to lose. How close did you think that they came to losing the ball game?
Well, not for a long period of time. They had a 17-point cushion midway through the third quarter. All of a sudden, it went down south for them. The wall started crumbling in. Hapoel made a crazy run. They went from that point 29-14. They clinched within 2 points, and they had the ball to really win the game or send it to overtime on the last possession, but missed a desperation three-pointer to ultimately lose the game, which was a real shocker because beyond the fact that Maccabi won and Hapoel lost, it's the second time these two teams meet. Hapoel won the first game. They blew Maccabi out of the gym by 20 points. So now Hapoel Tel Aviv, the underdog of this derby, really have the confidence and the belief within themselves that they can take Maccabi Tel Aviv, whether if it's a one-game series or a series in the playoffs. They have a great matchup against Maccabi. That's something that Coach Guy Gudis he's concerned about. He expressed his concerns in the post-game press conference, and this can really backfire on Maccabi going forward because they've had a number of games that they were able to pull out, really squeezed out victories. But on the flip side, in the Israeli League, they don't want to reach these kind of situations.
Now, in this game, Sylvan Landesberg had 19 points, and we know he's a tremendous scorer from his days. Maccabi Haifa, it was one of the worst teams in the league. He still was a top scorer. He still is a top scorer. And talk about his contribution to the game. Again, he led all players with he led his team with 19 points.
Well, yeah, I mean, you really said it really great. I mean, there's not much more to add. Sylvan Landesberg led not just Haifa back in the day in scoring, but the entire Israeli League in scoring. And Haifa were a terrible team. They were nearly relegated to the second division. There's no argument about Sylvan Landesberg's ability to score. He's a bullseye, lights-out shooter. He can play off the dribble. He can take his man one-on-one. He's a better spot-up shooter when he catches it in the corner, but his weakness and his continuous liability is on the defensive end, and that's why he saw limited minutes under David Blatt, who is known to be a defensive-minded coach, and that's why he's really having a hard time breaking out in the EuroLeague this season, also under Guy Gudis, because he has zero tolerance for guys who don't play defense. So until Landesberg kind of elevates that aspect of his game, he'll really struggle making it to the next level.
Yeah, and Sylvan Landesberg's been a borderline NBA guy, so if he improved his defense, and he's still young, he'll have a chance to make the association.
Absolutely.
Now, I know Maccabi signed Joe Alexander on Thursday. Can you tell us a bit about him so our audience knows more about the new Maccabi player?
Well, Joe Alexander is a former number 8 overall lottery draft pick by the Milwaukee Bucks. He played there 2 seasons before being dealt to the Chicago Bulls. I mean, this guy was one of the top athletes in the United States. Okay, in his class, he's a freaking top 10 lottery pick. Okay, and this guy was making millions, and now he's coming to Maccabi Tel Aviv for under $20,000 a month. They pulled him out of the D League. They paid the buyout to the Santa Cruz Warriors, which was $45,000. But what is Maccabi really getting in Joe Alexander? This is a guy who is injury prone, who hasn't played basketball for almost 2 years until recovering last season and joining the D League. He had a short stint in Russia before he hurt himself, broke his foot, he hurt his hip. He went to camp with Denver, and he was released because he was complaining about his some hip trouble. So something bothered him, and he wasn't really fit. For the most part, why Maccabi Tel Aviv brought him is because he has a tremendous upside, and if he does break out and shows flashes of that top 10 NBA draft pick, then Maccabi will win the lottery. But if he doesn't, and he's still injury prone, and you add him to an injury-prone roster in Sofo and Devin Smith and Brian Randall and Alex Tyus, and you're not really getting much, it's really a setback. So on top of all that, the coaching staff from Maccabi Tel Aviv, I mean, it's important to say, they weren't and they still aren't thrilled about Joe Alexander coming in. There was a financial aspect behind this signing, and that was that he's cheap. And if Maccabi struggle in the top 16, they still have some cash in their piggy bank to bring in a veteran guard. And that's really what they're looking for.
Again, David Doobie picked for Eurobasket, breaking it down. A few more minutes with Doobie. Tuesday, they go to Maccabi Tel Aviv, has a EuroLeague top 16 opener. Give us that breakdown. What do you expect to see on Tuesday?
Well, as of an hour ago, Maccabi are in the air. They're on the bird, en route to Greece, and they're going to play Panathinaikos, like you said. I mean, every year that they really want to blow out in the EuroLeague, they somehow face Panathinaikos. That time with Jeremy Pargo when they made the finals, they lost to Panathinaikos. When Yogev Ochayon had his breakout season in the EuroLeague, Maccabi lost to Panathinaikos in a 5-game series. Last year when they won the EuroLeague championship in the regular season, they played Panathinaikos. So, I mean, now meeting them again is good for Maccabi because it ultimately means they can reach the high ranks of the season. Right now, I think Maccabi are favorites going into the game against the Greeks because I'm not so impressed with what Panathinaikos have shown thus far. And Maccabi Tel Aviv have shown the ability that they can win on the road. They won 4 of 5 this season in the EuroLeague, and they basically beat all the teams except for CSKA Moscow, which is unbeatable in the EuroLeague. No one has beaten CSKA. So, I have high hopes for Maccabi in the top 16. I like, to a certain extent, Joe Alexander. I still think Maccabi want and need another point guard to play alongside Jeremy Pargo, but definitely in the pool that they were pooled to in their bracket, they won't be the number 1 seed. They won't be the number 2 seed because of Real Madrid and Barcelona, but it'll be a disaster if they aren't the 3rd or 4th seed.
And for Tuesday, before we let you go, give us a prediction. Does Maccabi pull this game out?
I think so, yeah, absolutely.
All right, so we have Doobie down, say Maccabi's going to win on Tuesday. We'll keep an eye on that. David, Doobie picked the best in the business. If you heard this whole segment, you see why. Thanks for being on the program today. We really appreciate it.
All right, Ari, thanks for having me, man. Good
sure.
talking to you.
Likewise, be well. David Doobie pick, talking about Maccabi Tel Aviv, and Joe Alexander, number 8 overall draft pick a few years ago. We'll see if he can stay healthy, how he can help Maccabi Tel Aviv win another European title. Speaking of that, on the other side, it's Israel's number 1 guy. He wins as the top Israeli in the world of sports in 2014, David Blatt. To talk about that is a sports rabbi, Josh Halickman, after this. This is Louis Live on TLV1. All right, back here on TLV1. Once again, if you want to follow the station on Twitter, you can do so at TLV1. If you want to email me personally, that's longlivelouislive@gmail.com, and you can always find me on Facebook, Ari Louis, ARILOUIS. We are going to finish this show in style. On the line right now, it's the sports rabbi, Josh Halickman. Josh, welcome back to the program.
What's going on there, Ari?
It's going great, and Jerusalem Post named their Israeli Sports Personality of the Year, David Blatt, for 2014. Sports Rabbi, I'm not so surprised he won it. I'm more surprised he got 91% of the vote. Were you surprised that he got that big of a margin in winning this award?
Yeah, I think, you know what, Ari, I think you have to split the award into two things. One, into the actual athletes, and then potentially two, into the coaches, executives type of place. I think the 91% is extremely high. I think that's great for him. He deserves it. He won the State Cup. He won the Israeli League, and he won the Euro League with a team that wasn't supposed to go that far. That is, by far an amazing accomplishment. He makes it to the NBA. That trumps everything. Not only does he make it to the NBA, he makes it as the coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers, who then sign arguably the best basketball player playing today, LeBron James. Nobody can argue about David Blatt. I just feel bad for the athletes that are out there. And if you're looking at athletes as well, you have to look at Eran Zahavi, who is a soccer player from Maccabi Tel Aviv. The guy has scored 35 goals in the calendar year alone. He is one of the greatest talents that Israel's ever produced. He's played abroad. He might be going abroad again. He is an absolute dynamite soccer player. I got to see him play live last night as well. It was the first game this season that he did not score in last night, though he had an assist on the second goal. So I think you have to really separate the two things out, that we do produce in Israel some great athletes. Look at the tennis players that we produce, and look at the swimmers that we produce, and look at the Olympic type of athletes and the basketball players that we produce. Omri Caspi is having a wonderful comeback year with the Sacramento Kings this season. Gal Meckel, even though he's not with the team right now, to make it to the level of the NBA is something that has to be applauded, Ari.
Absolutely. Now, one thing that's interesting with David Blatt is, I think people forget this, a year ago there were rumors that he was going to get fired from Maccabi Tel Aviv. How close do you think he was to losing his job about a year ago?
I think it was pretty close. I think that around November time he was really, really close. The team wasn't clicking. The players weren't playing up to their potential. Players like Tyrese Rice and Alex Tyus were disastrous with Maccabi Tel Aviv. He couldn't figure out what to get out of them. They weren't playing minutes, and then all of a sudden everything just started to gel together, and without those two players, they don't win any of those titles last year. Without Alex Tyus, without Tyrese Rice, Maccabi Tel Aviv definitely does not take home those titles, and definitely that was a coach's decision. Was it out of desperation to start playing these guys and try to change it up? It may have been. He may have been desperate to keep his job at that point. But, we'll never really know because everything turned out okay for him.
It's funny how things work out. And, it's almost half of the NBA season. We're getting close there. Assess David Blatt's coaching the Cavs so far. Obviously, he has LeBron James, Irving, Love. How do you think he's doing at this point?
I think he's probably doing a little bit under expectations. I think he himself is probably a little disappointed in the play of some of the players. He actually benched Kevin Love for the whole fourth quarter a couple days ago. LeBron James doesn't seem to be the same player he was. He definitely took off some weight, and that may be contributing to some of his play itself. I think David Blatt also adjusting to the NBA style is going to take a little bit of time. I think the Miami Heat took some time also their first year. They did make it to the championship, and they didn't win. It could be the same case here. As they say, Ari, the NBA season really only started after Christmas. So right. I think we have to put aside the first month and a half and really see now where the teams land up. Will they make the playoffs? Yes. Will they threaten for the championship? Yes. Will they win the championship? I guess that's really a big question right now because the Toronto Raptors are having a fabulous year, and that's even without their star player DeMar DeRozan, which is unbelievable. That I don't think anybody predicted that.
There's some major surprises in the NBA. The Warriors are red hot. Stephen Curry. You have Memphis Grizzlies up there. You think when the playoffs start that the Cavs will still be or will be the favorites? Not necessarily still be, but will be the favorites.
I would think they're going to be the favorites because any team that has arguably the best basketball player in the world on it has to be a favorite. When the Chicago Bulls had Michael Jordan, they were the favorites. Hence, I think that the Cleveland Cavaliers have to be looked at as a favorite. However, as they say, Ari, time will tell. And that's why they play the games.
That's right. We could talk. We could do it on paper. They got to play the games. Last question we have for you, Sports Rabbi. Talk about Maccabi Tel Aviv now without David Blatt. How much of a difference is it that they don't have their former head coach?
I think that they're struggling a bit. Guy Goodis is a good coach. He has experience. He worked under David Blatt for a number of years. He was a head coach himself for Hapoel Jerusalem. So he knows how to deal with the pressures, and I think he's doing a good job with that. Pini Gershon, who we didn't know what he would bring to the table if he was going to try to trump Guy Goodis, he is not. He's actually been the model citizen as a assistant coach. He's been doing a great job. I think they're going into the next round of the EuroLeague right now. They finished second in their group at 7-3. That's not bad, considering the changes and upheavals within the roster, injuries to Guy Panini, the loss of the coach, loss of some of the players. I think they're in good position right now. They're in a tough group. They're going to be playing Real Madrid, Barcelona, Panathinaikos. They play already tomorrow night. Not easy teams, but so far they've been able to surprise some people. Are they going to make it to the Final Four this year? I would really, really doubt it. They just did sign Joe Alexander out of the developmental league in the NBA. Joe Alexander, of course, was one of the top draft picks a number of years ago. He has been playing really well this season. That could be a big game changer for Maccabi Tel Aviv. If this guy can come in and produce and give the numbers he's been giving in the D-League, Maccabi Tel Aviv is going to be a real force in the second round of the EuroLeague.
And time will tell on that as well. Sports Rabbi Josh Halickman in the segment. Sports Rabbi, people want to listen to your show, know more about you. Where should they go to?
Check out, of course, on Twitter, @The Sports Rabbi, and you can find everything on there. @The Sports Rabbi. Twitter is the best way to check me out, Ari.
All right, great stuff. The Sports Rabbi, Josh Halickman, here on Louis Live on TLV1. Thanks so much for your time today. Be well.
Pleasure, and everybody keep listening to Ari Louis. He has the #1 sports show in the country.
Thanks so much, Sports Rabbi. I really appreciate it. Be well.
Speak to you later. Bye-bye.
All right. That was the Sports Rabbi Josh Halickman wrapping things up regarding David Blatt winning the Jerusalem Post 2014 Sports Personality of the Year. That is the end of our program. I want to thank everyone for tuning in and listening in. And, of course, thank you to our guest, our first guest of the program, Deep Voice Brian Hoffman, talking about the NFL Wildcard weekend. There'll be 4 games this weekend. Deep Voice likes Baltimore to lose, even though he's from Baltimore, to the Pittsburgh Steelers. He likes Carolina to beat my Cardinals. He thinks the Cowboys will choke, as usual, to the Lions. And the 4th game, which he had a little bit hard time choosing, was, of course, Cincinnati-Indianapolis. He likes Indianapolis to win because of Andrew Luck. I like that as well. Devere Reutemann breaking down the 2014 year of soccer, also known as football. He thought that Spain was a disappointment, but thought Germany was best team in 2014. They won the World Cup. And he thought Ronaldo was the best player of 2014. Raphael Geller talking about the huge corruption scandal that not only involves several politicians, but involves Avner Kobel, who is head of Israel basketball. We'll see how he used those funds, if he did so illegally. Time will tell on when people will go to prison, when they'll have the trials, if so, and their sentences and fines, etc. That story is just breaking, so we'll keep everyone to date in the next couple of weeks and have Raphael on to talk about it. Nate Fish, the national director of Israel baseball, talking about in April the team goes to Prague, and also talking about his good friend Howie Oyster, passed away a few weeks ago. There's a scholarship in his name. Go to Israel Baseball on Facebook to find out more about it. And of course, Nate Fish was in the shook for that segment. David Doobie Pick talking about Joe Alexander being signed to Maccabi. He was number 8 overall pick a few years ago, and Maccabi was able to get a victory on Saturday night by 2 points over Hapoel, despite blowing a 17-point lead early in the third quarter. And the Sports Rabbi Josh Halickman talking about David Blatt being the 2014 Sports Personality of the Year. Of course, David Blatt, in addition to winning the State Cup, the Israel Cup, and the EuroLeague Championship, is now coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers with LeBron James. Stay tuned for a lot of great programming, a lot of great stuff. That's it for tonight. God bless and good night.